Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Voyager Class STARSCREAM. This figure came out in 2018 as part of Wave 1 of the Voyager assortment, and represents Starscream's appearance in the 2007 film Transformers. Most Transformers fans who get horny for Starscream tend to be more focused on his robot mode. I'm quite the opposite, since I'm horny for the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor fighter jet he turns into. This might be my favorite aircraft of all time, excepting perhaps the F-117 Nighthawk. It's very sharp and angular, and it looks just as deadly as it is. It's perfect for Starscream. It's cast in a dull gray, though all along its surface, especially on the wings, are a subtle aerial camouflage effect which elevates Starscream's appearance from boring to boring but realistic. A dull off-white adorns the edges of Starscream's wings and stabilizers, along with some off-white fringe around the cockpit and on the nose cone, adding a nominal visual pop. My favorite details are the tachographs on the wings. On the right wing is the standard United States Air Force marking, while on the left wing is a Decepticon variant. On every picture I could find online, the USAF marking is on the left wing, showing that Starscream is an especially naughty boy. On the rear underside, right near the engines, the two tabs that can be used to fasten Starscream's sole accessory, or the one that comes with his repaint, which I'll look at more in depth in robot mode. Studio Series Starscream's transformation scheme is lifted whole cloth from that of the Dark of the Moon Deluxe figures, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing. The engineering is solid and is probably one of the best takes on trying to force an F-22 Raptor into the shape of a movie Starscream. There are some added panels here and there, some changed joints, and sadly some of the clearances are a bit less forgiving than on the original. Still, it's a very satisfying scheme. I'm going to admit to wrongthink here, but I genuinely like Starscream's design from the movies. Yeah, it's inelegant, but it has a nice balance of gangliness and breadth that gives off airs of conniving and strength. Especially in his later appearances, the animators at ILM really knew how to make this Starscream a proper groveler. I really love the head sculpt. It's bug-like, much like most Movieverse Decepticons, yet at the same time, it just still feels very Starscream. Maybe that's because I'm so used to this design by now, but I can't imagine any other head sculpt working on a design like this. I also really like how pristine and clean he looks compared to his repaint. I don't mind the Cybertronian tribal tats too much, but I definitely prefer the undisturbed beauty of the F-22 being the major focus of this robot mode. Either one of Starscream's hands can fold away to make room for his accessory, the missile launcher he used to attack Hoover Dam in the first film. Sadly, it's just one piece and thus doesn't spin or articulate, but it's still nice. The two blades at the end are made of a soft rubbery plastic which tends to deform easily. Naturally, the accessories of both this figure and the later Revenge of the Fallen repaint are cross-compatible, so either Starscream can dual-wield. Technically, I've already covered this figure's articulation, though that was back when I was doing that whole really stupid articulation checklist thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if you just skipped that part of my previous Starscream review. Starting at the head, he has a swivel that goes left and right, and it can go up, which is mostly to get some clearance for transformation as it goes inside this cavity here. But it's not ball jointed, it can just go left and right, and it can look up a little bit, though when he does look up, it kind of looks like he's turtling in on himself. It looks like he's kind of cringing, like you just posted cringe or something. The arms. These are massive noodles of plastic. The arms swivel forward and backwards, 360 degrees, and they can go all the way outwards, and then some, with this hinge joint here, but they also have another hinge joint here for transformation, and that can make them go downwards, so if you don't want him having his shoulders in line with the chest, you can just bring them downwards, and then he can shrug, if that's your prerogative. His biceps swivel 360 degrees on this swivel joint, and he has a double jointed elbow due to transformation. His wrists are ball jointed and they can go all the way around, and they are connected to a hinge for transformation and for storage, and he can bring his hand all the way back up to his elbow, which is quite freaky. He has nothing in the body just due to everything just coming apart in 17 million different ways, and that means he doesn't have a waist joint. There's literally no way for, at least in this transformation scheme, for Starscream to have a waist joint. I'm not too terribly disappointed, it's completely understandable. Moving on, his thighs can move forward up until they hit these sculpted details here in the lower torso, and they can go all the way backwards until they hit the backpack, which is a pretty nice arc of movement. They can also go all the way outwards and then some, so he can scrape his massive jet testicles on the floor like a fucking dog. He actually doesn't have a thigh swivel. In place of it, you can just hinge the legs backwards due to transformation, though this only goes so far before it starts looking like he has to pee or something. The knees are technically double jointed in that there are 2 joints. Starscream is the quintessential digitigrade Decepticon in that this is the thigh, this is the calf, and this entire section here is the foot. If he were plantigrade, he would look a little more like this. This is how we're structured. This is how digitigrade animals are structured. What is generally described as Starscream's foot are just his toes. He only has toes. This counts as a toe as well. So, the actual knee goes back 90 degrees, and then the foot can tilt backwards even further to approximate a general knee bend, but the foot can also move all the way forward for transformation, which kind of looks like he's broken his leg, or he's getting ready to transform back into jet mode. He has an ankle pivot, in that he has a pivot at his ankle, biologically speaking, and it rotates all the way around. Sadly, he has no toe pivot down here, but the ankle pivot can approximate some good poses that a toe pivot would naturally help with, as shown here. But it does have its limitations, though it's really easy to work around. Finally, as I have already demonstrated, he does have a toe joint that can point forward in the same direction as the rest of his foot. So that's Starscream's posability for you. He's actually really, really posable, especially in the arms. You'll be able to get him into many poses that you want to do, but he does have other limitations that aren't related to the number and range of his joints. It's just that he's so wide that some poses can be hard to get. For instance, he cannot cross his arms. He can only bring his hands together just because his chest is so broad. And there are others, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. So if you get this guy, just play around with him. Try your best to get around the limitations, and you'll have a pretty good time trying to pose Starscream. Nearly every store around me missed out on the first 2 waves of Voyagers when Studio Series debuted, and I wasn't particularly bothered by it. Lately, though, it appears Starscream was repacked in the wave containing Megatron and Mixmaster, so I was more than happy to pick him up, and I have to say I'm very happy with him. It's been so long since we've gotten a figure of Starscream's appearance from the first film rather than the second or third, let alone one as good as this. In fact, I prefer this version of Starscream so much that I'm gonna do something unprecedented so far. I'll be ranking this figure higher than I would have ranked the repaint I've already covered. This means that Studio Series 06 Starscream easily gets the rank of astounding. If you liked this video or otherwise found it helpful or informative, then please subscribe for more reviews like this in the future, so you can stay tuned for my next review. This has been Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.